As Ukrainian, on behalf of the whole nation, I'm really grateful for everyone for your support. The war is here. The war is in Ukraine. And just last month was pretty tough personally. Very briefly, we'll share because the windows of my apartment in Kyiv was damaged by the blast of a missile which landed just in Arsenalna, that's a city center of Kyiv. So the like 6 windows from one side in our floor completely broken, and almost for a year and a half, like a year and a half ago, my husband, he volunteered for to serve in Marine Corps, and he got an injury last autumn, and also last month he needed to have a surgery. He got it in the US due to his injury in there. So I personally feel and experience in different ways the war as many Ukrainians, and we really are very grateful for the whole support we have globally, and we feel it. We appreciate it. So I'll very briefly start with overview from economical, social, and political perspectives. What is going on in the ground? Probably some information, I will try to be brief so you could ask some questions afterwards. So first of all, as we already stated, so I want to underline that as Ukrainians, we met with a genocidal attempt, which now is even more clear than 2 years ago. And the terrible goal is not continuously and constantly repeated by Russian officials, Russian propagandists and activists, but it's been consistently proved by Russian troops who fully demolish Ukrainian cities, who repress our prisoners, who continuously conduct repressions against Ukrainians on occupied territories, and innumerable war crimes we see proves that as well. If I move more to economic perspective, so Ukraine, of course, faces a challenging period ahead. Like last 2 years, the country's GDP showed slight recovery in 2023, growing by estimate like 5.5%. After a sharp decline in 2022. But we all understand that this growth comes from a very low base, and the economy remains about a quarter smaller than before the war. What we see from Ukraine's budget for 2024, of course, we emphasize defense spending, which is over half of our total expenses, which demonstrates the ongoing prioritization of course security. From another perspective, state apparatus, including social security, including healthcare, requires substantial international financial support. And the international community's role remains pivotal, but with a new perspective, the effort to utilize frozen Russian assets to finance Ukraine's reconstruction, it makes a novel approach to secure the necessary funds for recovery. And this Russian frozen assets, which I think is very important for all of us to understand, as that we must move forward with this approximately 300 billions of euros of Russian central bank assets, which are frozen despite all the complexity with legal and police and political frameworks. So socially, the situation is challenging as well. From one perspective, we see that society is exhausted. All of us, we are exhausted, burned out a bit. But same time, according to sociological surveys, as well as my personal perception, because we as Aspen Institute, we work with leaders from different areas, and just 2 weeks, probably it was 2 weeks ago, on February 3rd, we gathered 150 top leaders of Ukrainian society for on public forum where we were trying to synchronize and align. We convened like top entrepreneurs, capital holders, as well as ministers, as well as civil society activists and leaders, as well as media representatives, as well as veterans and serving military leaders. So it resonates as well that unity and focus on victory remains. The belief in victory is here, despite all the exhaustions we go through. The basis for the stability in society is horizontal connections and informal organizations support for the army. Just a few last week, the Ukrainian society gathered 323 millions of Ukrainian hryvnias, which equals not that impressive number, 8.5 million US dollars in 36 hours. So the communication was made through United 24 just within Ukrainian society, despite being really poor. And we see it economically, from economic perspective, people are very dedicated to support armed forces. So do everything possible, and it's really inspires. That's how we inspire each other, and that shows us resilience and determination within the victory we fight for. From societal perspective, few more things I'd like to emphasize. We see that we as society are moving to nicely called in that forum I mentioned, a human-centered militarization approach. We do, as a society, value human life as core value, the most important value. So, but we also understand that we need to make sure each of us are centralized, militarized as well. We have almost 5 million Ukrainians abroad. Each Ukrainian matter. That's incredibly important to keep everyone engaged. We see that critical need for social transformation in terms of increasing demand for resilience, as I mentioned, but in personal level and collective level, we need to sustain ourselves as society for a long term. And gladly, more and more people understand that it's not a short run, it's a marathon we are running, and this resilience is essential. One of the challenges we face is a pressing need for reliable and trustful communication, especially between the government and society as a whole. But just recent events when President Zelensky shared about the tragic loss of 31,000 of Ukrainian soldiers, not including those who are missing or those who've been wounded and are not able to fight. But even this moment of sharp honesty make a significant step in bringing the information gap and fostering a deep and authentic dialogue between government and its people. And very briefly, political perspective, how I see it, and that's fascinating to have Tim Snyder here. He analyzed a lot of processes very deeply from historical and anthropological perspective, so it would be interesting to listen to him as well. But as I see it here, so of course, number one challenge we as a society face is how do we strike a deliberate balance between the urgent demand of national security and unwavering commitment to our democratic principles. Of course, we understand that martial law puts some restrictions of freedoms, but we are in search of the new model. How do we balance that? I cannot stress enough the importance of bolstering the role of our parliament and Verkhovna Rada and our local governments. These bodies have become absolutely crucial during the first stage of war, and they do have trust from the society and community. So their capacity to maintain this trust of our citizens is a cornerstone for this national resilience I mentioned. We do work on reinventing the mechanism of our government accountability and transparency, ensuring high competence and integrity of our public services, further prevention of corruption, developing a new economic framework. And probably last thing I'd like to mention is we also are deeply committed politically and individually in different levels to diplomacy and fostering cooperation with our international allies. So building this platform of fair, trustworthy, honest dialogue is important, despite all the tiredness and exhaustion we see. We do need to keep the world informed what's going on as more and more people understand the existential value and existential threats which this war stayed before in front of the whole world. So I will probably sum up here with this question which lies heavily on my heart and mind, and which is discussed within our leadership community in Ukraine as well. So if we were to be erased as a sovereign state and nation, what will happen next? Will it make our democracies stronger? Will it make our markets prosper? Will it make our world a better and safer place? What will happen next? And I know people who are here, they are strong supporters. And once again, I'm so grateful for each and every one of you for standing with Ukraine, for standing with us in this fight for world's freedom and dignity. And at the same time, these questions are essential, and we need to ask them to those who are not standing behind next to us. Thank you.